Hey, want to welcome everybody back to 2A Talking Tactical. It is Saturday, January 21st. Still a lot going on in the 2A world. Got some breaking news that some of y'all may or may not be aware of. First and foremost, want to let y'all know that Judge Joshua Morrison in Illinois has issued a temporary restraining order. There was about 800 and some people that filed a lawsuit against Illinois' assault weapons ban. One thing about that is that Judge Morrison noted in the TRO that it only applies to those plaintiffs. Everybody else or anybody that wasn't on the lawsuit, this does not apply to them. So that's bad news for them. However, it is looking like, it is going to be heard. I think it's set for February the 1st. So we'll see what happens with that. One of the things that Governor Pritzker did on this, so apparently the House bill that was in question, apparently it was a House bill that was written for some kind of insurance regulation or something having to do with insurance. Well, come to find out, during the middle of this, and they seen that this House bill was going to pass, they totally 100% gutted the wording in the House bill and basically like a copy and paste of the gun bill. So basically, they just took the shell of the House bill and put their assault weapons ban wording in there, and just basically switched the subject of the House bill because the insurance bill was going to pass. So you tried to slide one in under the radar, and they got caught. So we'll see what happens with that. Another thing I wanted to touch on. So there's a website out. It's a website that keeps up with gun statistics as it relates to crime in the U.S. So one of the interesting things that come out, there's a lot that caught my attention on this one, so I'm going to try not to get too far off subject tonight. But anyway, what they did was they went in and the firearms that were found at crime scenes, I forget the number now, but Glock was 21%. So 21% of the guns recovered, and I'm looking through some notes here. So it was 21% were Glocks, 13.5% were Smith and Wessons, 13% was Taurus, and 7% was Rugers. Now they didn't give a number. However, another interesting thing was that ghost guns was the number recovered has gone up about 30 to 33%. Ghost guns recovered at crime scenes. So yeah, they're working on that. Also, there was a rundown of the cities as it relates to the manufacture of the guns that were found. For example, Buffalo, New York, the largest number of gun manufactured that was found was Smith and Wesson. Baltimore, Maryland was Polymer 80. Allentown, I think that's Pennsylvania, was Smith and Wesson. Chattanooga, Tennessee, Glock. Chicago, Glock. Cleveland, Glock. Dayton, Ohio, Glock. Kansas City, Little Rock, all of those were Glock. Miami-Dade County in Florida, Glock. Montgomery County, I'm not sure if that's North Carolina or if it's another, but that was Glock. And then, so they've got New York listed again as Taurus. So anyway, I will put a link to that website in the description. You can go read it and check it out. So I wanted to let everybody know. So I think I don't know for a fact, but I think that's where they're coming out with trying to sue gun manufacturers. One of the things that I read in the article um, was that uh, gun manufacturers don't keep up with if their guns are used in crimes. Uh, so one of the things I felt that was ironic, and I own a couple of Glocks, was Glock being 21% of the number of firearms that were found at crime scenes. Um, it's like they're not, and I'm not saying they should by no means, but they're not going after Glock when they're talking about suing gun manufacturers. They're talking about going after Smith and Wesson, Daniel Defense. They were talking about going after Bushmaster. The big AR-15 manufacturers. They're talking about going after them and suing them, but you don't see them or don't hear about them talking about going after Taurus or Glock um, and whatnot. So I thought that was kind of ironic. So anyway, you can kind of see the writing on the wall there, what they're trying to do. Another thing that I've been trying to catch up on some stuff, to bring y'all content and whatnot. If you've been in the 2A world for any amount of time, you're probably familiar with Colion Noir. He is a Second Amendment pro activist. He's also an attorney. I think he's down in Georgia. So I know this was an old video, and I'll put a link to it in the description also, but I'll run across this. So there was, he had a debate with a gentleman. His name is John Rosenthal of Stop Handgun Violence. This was about a year ago. And one of Mr. Rosenthal's arguments was that number one, he doesn't believe that we should own the black rifle, for different reasons. So one of the examples that he gave, and if you know anything about law enforcement, you kind of have to sit back and laugh about this, but one of his arguments that he brought up several times was is that anybody that owns a black rifle, I'm not going to call it an assault weapon because that's not what it is, but anybody that owns a black rifle, they shouldn't have them, because why should somebody like that have a gun or a firearm that outguns law enforcement? And his argument was that a law enforcement officer carries a gun that has anywhere between 13 and 17 rounds in it, and he's talking about an officer's sidearm. But then he compares that to, in his argument, against somebody that has a weapon, that will hold 30 rounds or more. Well, he's talking about a black rifle. Nowhere in this discussion, and I love Colion. He's super. I don't have any issues with him whatsoever. But one of the things I wish would have been brought up was that John Rosenthal was comparing a law enforcement's duty weapon to a civilian's AR-15. That's apples and oranges. And then he goes on later on in the video, and he basically, he does say, he says that law enforcement officers don't carry AR-15s. Yeah, they do. I don't know where he's been, and this video was a year ago, or a podcast that's in a video format now, but it was also a podcast. But yeah, they do. Every patrol officer that I know of, at least in my area, carries a rifle. And most of the time, 9.5 times out of 10, it's an AR-15. It may be a Smith & Wesson M&P. It may be, if it's an agency that, has a lot of money to work with, they'll carry Daniel Defense. I seen a video the other day where an officer was in a shootout with an individual that took a pop shot at him, and his rifle was a Daniel Defense. Um, so they've got Bushmaster, they've got Smith and Wessons, they've got Rugers. There's an agency close by here, Med MPD. They've got Rugers. So I don't know where this guy's, what bush he's been living under. But I didn't think that was fair because, again, he's comparing a law enforcement officer's side duty weapon um, to a civilian who may own AR-15. So anyway, I thought that was, kind of a moot issue. But, during the debate, it was never, that was never brought up. And I know there was a lot to cover in the debate. And so, I'm not blaming Colion or any of there was two hosts that are pro Second Amendment. They didn't bring that up either, but that was one of the things that I noticed, I guess, from working in law enforcement. But anyway, again, there was this temporary restraining order, that was filed yesterday, January the 20th. So we'll wait and see what happens with that. And like I said, I'll list the links, in the bottom. And so you can look at those. This report is City Crime Gun Data by Manufacturers, what it's called. So anyway, go look at that. They're talking about Glock and how the gun manufacturers don't have a database to keep up with it. And he was kind of the article reads, they're kind of bashing the gun manufacturers. Well, when they do a trace on a firearm, they do start with the gun manufacturer and see where the gun went from their facility. But even when they call the FFL, where the gun was purchased at, they do not tell even the FFL that the gun was used in a crime. All they want to know was the gun sold. One, yeah. Do you have all the, did you have all the correct paperwork? Was it an approval? If it was a NICS check, was it a valid CCW if they used that? Was it a valid purchase permit if they used that? They're just double checking to make sure that the gun was sold legally under the FFL, which pretty much 10 out of 10 times it is, because any FFL holder doesn't want to lose their federal firearms license. So anyway, so for whoever that wrote this article, to be bashing the gun manufacturer for not keeping up with when their gun is used in a crime or suicide, I don't think that's right, because clearly, again, they don't understand how the process works. So anyway, that was pretty much that, and I'm still working on some other stuff. You might have noticed on my first or my last video, I should say, after I did the video, I did go back and find a video editing software, so I was able to add some stuff. So I'm still kind of working on that. I hope you like the intro and the outro. It's kind of generic, but it is what it is until I can, dig a little bit more into it. But anyway, if you would, please subscribe and hit the bell button. That way you're notified, when I do put out, some content. And if you, help me out and share the stuff. And so I want to give a shout out to USCCA, Delta Defense. That's who I have. I have the Platinum program. Knock on wood, I've not had to use it yet, but I do have it. So I want to give a shout out to them. Also want to give another shout out to Ryan at Apex Defense Group. And, like I said, in the last video, he's got a lot of good classes that he puts on. So anyway, go check him out. He's on Facebook, Apex Defense Group, and he's also on YouTube, Apex Defense Group. And he also has a podcast called The Pale Horse. So go check him out and show him some love. So anyway, that's all I have. And again, I want to thank y'all and have a good evening.